Hello again. Thanks for being with us, and thanks for paying attention to what we have to say here. And I hope that what we say helps you understand God better, understand Christ better, and understand how He can help you in your life. It's just because telling a story about dying and all the stuff that happened is just a story unless it can really become part of your life. What good is just a story unless you can relate it and that it can benefit you beyond hearing a story? So in sharing what I share, like what I'm going to share now, uh, it is helping people relate to how it actually happens with your life, and that the principles and laws and commandments and blessings and miracles that you read about in the scriptures are still going on. They're not fairy tales and they're not dead. They're still here. Because faith precedes the miracles, and when you have people with faith, you'll have miracles. And where you have no miracles, God's not there. So I want to talk about Elijah and also a personal experience that I had, because I have people asking me when I've talked to them, they'll say, well, what good is that? How can that help me? I don't know how to make it help me any. And so I hope that some of these stories can help it relate to you better. So you know the story of Elijah and the widow, and Elijah was told to go into the town, and there was a famine, and the widow was making the last cake of meal with the last bit of oil, and then they were going to eat it, her and her son, and die. That was what she thought was going to happen, just starve to death. Well, it doesn't sound like much fun, does it? Starving to death. So Elijah shows up. Now just imagine this is your last meal, and you have someone say, hey, could you give it to me first? You go, are you crazy? This is all I got. How can I give it to you? But she had faith in the prophet. She had faith in God and faith that the prophet was being led by God. And so she gives him the cake. And you know the story that she, after he ate and he left, she always had meal. Now, it doesn't mean she had a big bucket full, because each time she'd go there, she was thinking it was going to be empty, but there's always something there, just enough to eat. So it wasn't, 50 pounds. It was more like 1 pound or half a pound, whatever it needed to be for them to eat. But it went on until the famine was over, and then you could be more plentiful and get the meal and oil from a source that now was available. In my life, there was a time when we were working down by Zion Park, and we were running a resort there. We had a well that went down 1,275 feet, and we had a lot of problems with our water. The pump broke, and how they fixed the well, it took weeks because they kept doing it wrong, and we had to buy water. It was very expensive. It was $250 for 1,000 gallons, and we were using, I found out, about 1,000 gallons an hour. And so just imagine 1,000 gallons an hour, and you got to buy it and have it trucked in from 35 miles away, $250 as a piece. And because our tank lasted quite a while during this time, so we didn't have to buy it for the whole time. But for several days, we had to buy it, so it came quite expensive to get the water. But it taught me how much water we're using. So later on, some things happened. I don't need to go into all the details of why, but we ended up running out of water. And we got down, and we had a 125,000 gallon tank, and we had a 12,000 gallon tank. Well, the 125,000 gallon tank was empty. So now we were down to the 12,000 gallon tank, and that's all we had. And we couldn't get, at that time, we didn't have the funds to go buy water. And we were open for business, so our use was maybe not quite 1,000 an hour. You know, it might be more like maybe 600-700 an hour, but still that's quite a bit. And so you have 12,000 gallons. It's not going to last very long. You know, 12 hours, 15 hours, and you're out of water. Well, we just kept working and kept praying, and we discovered in this tank, if it dropped a foot, that was about 1,000 gallons. And so you could gauge how much water you're using by how far the gauge indicated it had dropped that day. We had a very accurate gauge to tell you down to the 16th of an inch how much water we had. Very accurate gauge in there. And I'd go up to check the water every night and every morning. And I wrote how much water, where the measuring indicator was. I write it on the side of the tank. And I went up there on the next day, and it had dropped about an inch. And I go, what? It should have dropped a long ways, you know. We only had less than a day of water, and yet we always had water. It had dropped an inch, maybe when we got mad at each other more and things were really hard and we got upset, it dropped about 3 inches on one day. And other days we actually had more at the end of the day than we started. And after about half of this time, it ended up, I said, I need to write this in my journal. So I went and started putting the record of how much water we had in my journal. And so here's water that normally would last less than a day. It lasted 27 days, and we still had 4,000 gallons left at the end of the 27 days. So isn't that like the mill that never failed? Or the oil that never failed? You think miracles don't happen? They do. And then when we got our power back on to fill the tank, because our power we'd lost power for a lot of different reasons, because it was a very power-using 3-phase motor that ran the well. And it got going, and we filled up our tanks. Then we used as much water as you normally use. The tanks would drop as fast as normal, you know, the foot like an hour, and things went on normally. But for 27 days, it didn't. 27 days, we had anywhere from 100 to 200 people there camping and staying in the cabins and showering and going to the bathroom and washing their clothes because we had washing machines. We had RV hookups and had all this stuff that uses water, and a kitchen, running water, washing dishes. You know, we had a restaurant, and so it was being used, but didn't drop. So God expanded our water until we could get the water normally. And I'm sure you have stories in your life of miracles, maybe healing or something like that. And remember that God cares about us as much as he does about the people in the Bible, and that miracles happen now. And if you remember what Christ told his apostles, he says, you can do what I do, these great things, but you can also do greater things than I do. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But if he says, you can do the miracles I did and more, that means that today we can have greater than biblical, as people always put it, times. Because we can have great miracles now just as much as we did back then. We have people that are healed. I had my water. There's a lot of other stories that I'll probably share with you. But why it happened, in my opinion, is that we never gave up faith in God. Now, before that, we did have a lot of challenge. We had to drive 7 miles to take a shower on another occasion, and we had to haul water in and little buckets just to flush our toilets. And it was really kind of miserable. So it's not that we never went through trial with it, but in this particular time when we were down, our resources were down kind of low, that he gave us this water. And we had faith that he could do that. And so as you people have your miracles happen, it's because you have faith that it can happen. And of course, we can bring people back to life. I'm an example of that. And like I said, I've been dead 6 times and brought back to life each time. And I was supposed to be dead another 15 or 20, who knows. I didn't count them, but quite a few, when my family was told I'm not coming home. And I did. Or the doctor would come in and say, you're dead because your heart's going to kill you. We can't stop it. And now I'm still here. So the faith of others, and perhaps my faith has helped it, because I trust God as a man of his word, and that he will do what he says he'll do. So if there's a problem, it's because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But anyway, miracles still happen. And you pay attention to your life, and in every day of your life, you're going to have little miracles happen in little places where God helps you. And it's a wise thing to be able to write those down before you go to bed. Just think about what happened today that was really special and where it was the hand of God helping me. And even if you don't believe it was God helping you, write down the good things that happened. And eventually you'll start to find out that that's who it is helping you. And it's also a benefit to your family and your children and your grandchildren. And it's a benefit to you. So miracles happen. God is real. Christ is real. The Bible, the story of the widow and Elijah is real. I got to witness things like that. And they're real, but so are modern day miracles real. And I testify to you that as you have faith in your Father in heaven, and as you ask him and thank him for things, that he will come forth and help you. And you can see miracles in your life. And I testify that these things are true in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.